Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. You are on to the program where we review major news that made the headlines across southern Nigeria in the past week. My name is Amzat. With me,
And I'm Louis. Stay tuned for our news review for the week.
let's kick off with the court barring the National Association of Resident Doctors from embarking on their planned strike. Lois,
I'm that. First of all, I'll say good morning. Um, the truth is, I would say I'm really tired of this whole issue between the resident doctors and the federal government. And at this time, the government ought to prioritize healthcare. See, healthcare delivery is very fundamental. The federal government should respect the agreement because before the resident doctors have decided to embark on this strike tomorrow, which is the strike which is supposed to be which they've scheduled for tomorrow, it means the federal government has reneged on an earlier agreement.
exactly.
So when things like this come up, they have the right to protest, or rather they have the right to go on strike because I believe it is their fundamental, is part of their fundamental human right, and as a body they have to use this as an avenue to 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 voice, or rather to air their
Yeah, to
grievances.
press home their
So
demands. Yeah.
it's really sad. So when the healthcare is in shambles, it's a big issue for a nation like Nigeria, because whether I would like it or not, this is one of, in fact, this is the most populous black nation on earth. So at this time, we should not be struggling with the resident doctors. I think it's unfair because the federal government really need to attend to them. So that is why we are having a lot of brain drain today. You find most of our best hands, they are exploring other alternatives. They are going abroad for greener pastures because they feel what we have here is not helping. So they want to go elsewhere and explore. And if you go outside the shores of Nigeria, you find out that our people, rather, or the best doctors you have in these countries are from Nigeria. Go to America, go to the UK. They've established themselves in these areas. So because why? Because of the ineptitude on the part of our government. I think the government should really look into this area and see how they can nip it in the bud and restore our healthcare.
Very well, like you said, it is really appalling because healthcare delivery is ought to be topmost,
Yeah.
so ought to be prioritized by the federal government because we are talking about health here, and without a healthy nation, we cannot be productive. And again, this National Association of Resident Doctors, they work in our public health institution, health facilities. That is to say, the service they are rendering is majorly for the poor, those that could not afford private health care. So they decide to go to this public hospital to go and get health care at affordable rates. But you see, instead of government to see it as an important agreement with the resident doctors and ensure that those agreements are implemented to the latter to ensure that these health specialists focus on their work and do it appropriately and deliver to the people. The government decided to be being unserious, going as far as going to court to go and bar them from exercising their rights, whereas they failed on their part as a government to keep to their own agreement. I would say this is a failure on the part of this current administration led by President Bola Tinubu, because this is one strike too many. Though the court have barred them for going on strike tomorrow, but we've had too much strike by these health care workers, I mean medical doctors,
Just too much.
which is not good for the country as it stands today. And don't forget, this same government, as I speak to you, they've went as far as enforcing the no work, no pay rules to Juesu that have been on strike since November. They have enforced no work, no pay instead of keeping to the agreement with this union.
Trying to be
But
very,
they just want to coerce them to ensure that
it's not done.
they work by fire, by force. Yes, as a healthcare practitioner, your duty first
Yeah.
is to save life. But you cannot save life when you are hungry. You cannot save life while your children are out of school.
Yeah.
You cannot be saying you want to save life when you don't have a good accommodation, so to speak.
You have to be mentally, psychologically, and emotionally stable.
Yes, to be
for you
able
save
to
life.
discharge your duty effectively, especially as it concerns saving life. So we say it is important that the government look at this area and ensure that our healthcare workers, their welfare,
Yeah.
whether you are a medical doctor, whether you are a lab scientist, whether you are a pharmacist, whether you are a nurse, as long as you are an healthcare provider working with the federal government, it's important that the federal government keep to whatever agreement they've entered into this essential service provider at this time, because we can't continue like this, because Nigeria just need to move forward, and moving forward, you cannot move forward without a stable and reliable healthcare.
Yeah.
Also, in the week under review, Louis,
Yeah.
the INEC chairman, Joash Amopitan, has vowed a tech-driven 2027 election.
Yes, Hamzat, when I got that, when I saw that news, I was kind of, I felt good. I saw it as a welcome development, because if you go back, the Electoral Act 2022, it gives INEC the legal grant to carry out a electronic digital election. Yeah. Now, apart from that, we observe that Nigerians recently have been clamoring for a tech-driven election, believing that this is going to put an end to the electoral fraud we've been having. And for the government to move towards that direction, it shows that the government are listening to the people. Now, when you talk about a tech-driven election, what are the two major areas in this election? The INEC chairman, the person of Professor Josh Amopitan is talking about. It's looking at the BVAS and the RF. Remember that BVAS, it ensures that it reduces multiple voting. Yes, because it's your facial, it's your facial and your fingerprints is well captured. So
biometrics.
So you can hardly impersonate.
Yeah.
So it reduces impersonation and multiple voting. And for the IREV, which many Nigerians have also clamored for, it shows you the results anywhere. So immediately the voting is going on. So it's just like it's a portal displaying the results. That's a very good
across the
one.
various
Yes.
voting centers.
Yes, in one of I watched one of the meetings in one of the strategic meeting with the INEC chairman in Lagos. He said the 5 pillars the INEC is anchoring on. They are anchoring on 5 pillars, which is he said free, fair, credible, transparent, and inclusive election. So he said Nigerians should expect free, fair, credible, transparent, and an inclusive election. I was like, wow, that's a very good one. And if you following, you know, the INEC, they are also using training tools, online training tools,
Yes.
using bots and all of that to train
Ad-hoc
staff. So
yeah.
that's a very good one. And at this stage, Nigerians need this kind of development. So because a whole lot of Nigerians have in fact they've talked so much. In fact, we felt the pains of electoral fraud and all of that. So we believe this will bring transparency and credibility to the electoral process. And apart from that, I will also say the area I might not be too comfortable with is this area on this tech driven election, is this area on power. You know, as it stands now, Nigeria, we are still struggling with power. The epileptic power supply we are facing as a country now, just for some days now, we've not had electricity close to 4 days. Even when it comes, not just up to an hour, it goes. So I don't know how INEC will be able to manage that. And also, apart from that, we must also understand, even the INEC chairman made it clear that though we looking towards a tech-driven election, it's not you can't say it's perfect, because whether you like it or not,
there must be a form of
there should be, but it will reduce it. Yes. Especially that area of impersonation, voting impersonation and all of that. So multiple voting, and it will help to look at that side. And we must also understand that another thing we also should look at is a tech-driven election we've clamored for. Will be very effective if the institution is strong to carry it out. So I would say due to the institutional weakness we've witnessed or we've seen in the past, so some persons are still of the view that with this work perfectly, but we shouldn't look at all of that, but we should look at the bright side. Yes. Thank God the INEC have come up with a tech-driven election, and the federal government have backed this up. So we'll say good things are on its way. So it's a good development.
Yes, it's a good development, that's for sure. But Louis, don't forget that we've used technology, but we've experienced some hiccups that have to do with election irregularities, people going to vote, but at the end they could not be accredited, even with the beavers. At the end, they will not go to manual. They will not apply manual. But I think the INEC chairman, Josh Mukpita, coming out now to assure Nigerians that going into 2027 election, everything concerning voting will be digitalized, and that's a welcome one. It should not be the usual promise as usual that technology is going to control every of the voting process to ensure a free, fair, credible polls. But successive INEC chairmen have done so, have promised Nigerians so. But we look forward to 2027 election to see if the promise, the vow by the current INEC chairman will come to stay. So we think if INEC can perfect this technology-driven process in Rivers State coming by election and replicate that in Osun in the year, later in the year, we can then be sure that in 2027
Yeah.
we are going to see exactly.
Yeah.
So when that is not in play in Rivers, it's not in play in Osun, then we can become skeptical to say it's like another story again. So we hope that should not be the case.
Yes,
And again, talking about INEC, remember they've already kicked off their voters, continuous voters registration earlier in the week or so. If you remember, we kicked off from January 5th and is expected to last till April 17. So for those that have not registered, that have turned 18, that are not registered to vote for the forthcoming election, they should seize this opportunity
Yeah.
to register for their voters card. And those that have registered for their voters card before, this is another window for them to go searching. And for those that have issues with their permanent voters card, have to do with voting voters card, I think an opportunity for them again to visit the nearest INEC office so that they can better be captured and not disenfranchised. So in all, we are saying that INEC should ensure they put their house in order going into 2027, but they need to test what they have in place with Rivers and Osun going forward.
Hamzat, this is a very, very sad one, but we have to look at it. Just during the week, on Tuesday precisely, gunmen attack the National Park Service in Oyo and killed forest guards. So
Actually, it's a sad news, but we just have to go on and talk about it. But first of all, our condolence to the family of those that
lost their lives.
yes, I mean the families and the loved ones of the forest guard that were attacked and killed. It's just quite unfortunate. However, if you see it is happening in Oyo State, and recently we have in Ogun State where the Southern Governors Forum met in Ogun State in the wake of the bandit attack in Kwara State, a state bordering some southwest states, state like Oyo. So we expected that meeting ought to have brought up some drastic change in terms of security strategy. But it seems as if after that Southern Governors Forum, the Southern Governors, they went to sleep. And the result is part of what we experienced over the week, precisely on Tuesday, when gunmen attacked the National Forest Guard at their base there. It could have been preventable because we have this community vigilante code name Amotekun Corps. We know how effective they've been in this not just Oyo, in some in across this southwestern states. So we never knew what happened. If not before now, there ought to be intel that gunmen that maybe they are fleeing attacks from neighboring states, especially in the north, where we have military offensive ongoing against banditry and other criminal elements in the north western region So like I said, it's quite unfortunate because that same forest where that incident took place, it is understood that there are some illegal mining activities that's going on there. So I believe that must have attracted these criminals who may not want an obstruction from this security agent, I mean the National Forest Guard. So they have to go as far as attacking their base because they see them as a threat to their perceived as a threat to their maybe criminal activities in that area as regard the illegal mining activities. I think it's high time the federal government, not just the state government, should go deep and investigate this so that we don't have to replicate what's going on in the northwest. Talking about Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, where banditry is rife because of the illegal mining activities in those areas. So we don't want to see or we don't want to believe that that is what is bringing them down here. We don't really know the identity of these attackers as we speak today. So it's high time the chief security officer of Oyo State, talking about Governor Seyi Makinde, to take this up and work closely with the federal government to ensure that of people of Oyo are well protected, regardless of wherever they reside in that state. And it's still an eye opener or a wake up call to not just southwestern state governors, but other governors in southern Nigeria. Like we highlighted in one of our episode where we called out these southern governors to ensure that those border communities bordering northern part of Nigeria are well policed with these community vigilantes. We are saying that the Oyo State government shouldn't just see this incident as one of those attacks. It should be serious. If Ametokun in that state and in the southwestern states are not well mobilized, are not well equipped, are not well empowered, I believe this is the time for government, not just in the southwest, I mean the southern part of Nigeria, like we've already of armored before, to ensure that vigilantes in our various communities, especially communities bordering states, northern states, are well policed and protected. And they cannot do that when they don't have the right logistics. So
Hamzat, like you said, in addition to what you just said, when you talked about the Amotekun Corps being given the right logistics and ammunition, so that's the area I want to look at first. I could still remember, was it a year ago? Yes, it should be a year ago. I read the report online where some of the Amotekun Corps officials complained of not being well paid and all of that. So I believe the Amotekun Corps in some of these areas, when it started, we saw how vibrant they were, so to an extent. But all of a sudden, it's just like it started. We were no longer hearing much of much activities from this personnel. But that aside, if you remember in one of our previous episodes where we were talking about the meeting that was held, SASAT and Southern Governors Forum, 17 Southern Governors with traditional rulers. In fact, one of their emphasis was they talked about intelligence gathering, they talked about zonal security fund, they talked about state policing. But that of state policing, anytime I hear of that state policing, when they talk about state policing, now first thing that comes to my mind, you already have local vigilantes who are already carrying out these services.
already policing their communities.
Yes, why not empower these people with the logistics and with the right ammunition? If you cannot if this Amotekun Corps, or rather this security outfits in these regions are not catered for, so when they have state police, probably we might also have issues like this. It will also pop up it will also pop up later. And aside from that, if you remember, I said the other time that these meetings, to me, it's just like I told you, it's just like a jamboree. I don't want to be seeing meetings like this. At this point, it's action. So they saw it coming. They already saw it coming. That was the reason for the meeting. But as it stands now, it means what this depicts now. It shows that after that meeting, probably they went back
To sleep.
they went back to sleep. They did not take any action. So you can't tell me such an attack, there's no intelligence gathering, and it's happened at a place where you have forest guards. Some reports are saying multiple lives were lost in the attack. So
One life is important.
this is really sad. And now look at the social and economic activities in the local and that area. There's disruption. A lot of persons have fled their homes as a result of this because they don't know what will happen next. So in a situation where governments are not putting efforts in securing lives and properties, it just shows the ineptitude, the gross ineptitude on their part. I believe by now the certain governors, they already know that things like this are going to come up in the future. So they ought to have prepared and mobilized by now, strengthened their local security outfit in this region. Because whether you like it or not, this is also a message of governors recently. So what I really want all of these governors in the southern part to do now is, if you cannot come together, protect your states individually. Because as it stands, it seems that meeting that Southern Governors Forum meeting, I don't know what came out of it. So each of these states should look at how they can police their regions effectively and strengthen their security outfit in this area, so as to ensure that lives are not lost anymore. And also, intelligence gathering is very key, is very fundamental. That's the purpose of the security, the local vigilante.
Exactly, to gather intel.
Yes.
Conventional.
So when this is not done, there will be problem. In fact, the 17 certain governors, traditional rulers in this area, they should stand up and see how they can synergize and see how they can work hand in hand. Because once it starts happening in one area, there's every tendency it spreads to other areas, exactly. It spreads to other parts, to ensure that more lives are not lost and everyone is safe. Economic and social activities return back to normal, so that at the end of the day, every of these states will be able to boost their IGR. Because in areas where you are having conflict, where you are having fighting, you can't talk of a good and a stable economy. That Rivers State again. Rivers State in the news again. When are we going to stop hearing of Rivers State in the news as regards to politics, the polity being heated? I think at this point in time, the people of Rivers State, the government of Rivers State, they should sit down and ask themselves some fundamental question: where are we going? Now, straight to our review on the Rivers State, the fresh impeachment plot on Governor Siminalayi Fubara. This one is 222.
This is a setback. The setback to Rivers State. It's a setback to the people of Rivers, because governance, like I always emphasize, is a serious business. And since the democratic governance return, Rivers State has remained the way it is, as if there was nothing like a state of emergency, because it is clear that there is no normalcy, there is no law and order. Or are we now saying they should declare other states of emergency? No, we are in a democracy. Besides, this issue boils down to selfish interests.
Yes.
Talking about Nyesom Wike, the minister of the FCT, since he imposed Siminalayi Fubara, the current governor of Rivers State, and he has been expecting the same governor to dance to his tune. Apparently, the man is not dancing to his tune. Now they are now orchestrating impeachment. Yes, the House of Assembly have come up with talking about the demolition of the State House of Assembly, talking about not complying with Supreme Court judgments, and spending funds unappropriated for, and refusing to present the 2026 budget. If that's the case, I think there are processes
Yeah.
before you talk about impeachment. Major Jack, the majority leader, moving the motion alleged gross misconduct by the Sinai Fubara-led government. Then Amaole went further to say in the next 7 days, the notice will be sent to the Fubara. That is not the process, because it's all boils down to heating up the polity like the way it is before. The House of Assembly just want to dance to their leader, the tune of their leader, talking about Nyesom Wike, because in this case there is room for amendment, there is room for reconciliation, because I expected that the moment party governance was restored after the emergency rule was uplifted, I expected both the State House of Assembly and the state governor, even including the former governor who is now the current minister of the FCT, talking about Wike, to join and see how they can mend fences so that peace can once again be restored to Rivers State, so that development can go on in Rivers State. But that is not the case. You still see cases of Nyesom Wike driving for political structure in the guise of campaigning for the re-election of President Bola Tinubu. Remember Sim Fubara, who has been in PDP, has since defected to the All Progressive Congress (APC), and again that must have had fuel to fire, not to the people, because it is right to belong to any political party, to associate with any political group. But when I mean putting fuel to fire, because Wike is not an APC member, he must have been angry, thinking that, oh, since Fubara have left me, he has now gone to APC, so he wants to renege on the agreement we entered into. Which agreement? That cannot be presented in the public. An agreement that they did not enter with the people. Where who will you blame if not the president? Talking about Bola Tinubu, who allowed him this free hand to be interfering in the governance of Rivers State. Yes, I am not trying to brief for the governor Siminalayi Fubara, because on his own have his own shortcomings, his own setback. But in this case, I think Wike should leave Sim Fubara alone and allow him deliver the good governance to the people. Focus on this ministerial job in the FCT, and leave Rivers State for Fubara to govern, because he's the governor. Despite we know you are the one that handpicked him, according to the constitution, Siminalayi Fubara is the executive governor of Rivers State, not Nyesom Wike. So Wike should allow the governor govern his state.
Hamzat, you see, like you said, I would say I'm really disappointed at the FCT minister Nyesom Wike, because if you remember, just recently the talk of who is the 001 of Rivers State, not just barely a week, it was brewing up. I knew there was problem coming. Even after the defection of Siminalayi Fubara, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, I knew there was going to be issue, because I know the FCT minister, the person of Nyesom Wike, is a man with pride.
You say he's a man with pride. Don't forget, pride comes before the fall.
Yes,
That's where we are going to now.
that's, you remember in the Bible, Herod, he was chaired when he came out. He wanted to give a speech. The crowd, the Jews were saying, "Oh, this, look at him. He's a god. He's not a man." Because of his appearance, they were cheering him up, and they gave him a godlike posture, but they gave him a godlike perception. And instead of him to lower his guard and try to make them understand that he's just a man, he was trying to bask in the moment, bask in the feeling, like yes. Then what happened to him? We know the story of how he ended up. So now we must understand that in this life, power is transient. Power is transient. No man should think of holding on to power for life. And if you look at what is causing all this problem in Rivers State, it's resources. And funny enough, you still see some persons cheering them up, cheering Nyesom Wike up. In this Rivers State, he still has followers. Then I'm surprised. What these followers, how do they reason? Now a state for over a year now, when you can't talk of development in Rivers State with all of this that is going on. Nothing is going on. Now, just recently, look at the issue of the impeachment plot that is going on. The House of Assembly, they are saying yes, the impeachment has a legal ground. They talk of
demolition of
state assembly. They talk of the governor not releasing funds for the House of Assembly. So all of this is what is making them come up with this plot. And if you look at what happened, 26 of the House of Assembly members, 26 of the House of Assembly members, they came up with this notice of this proceedings, this impeachment proceedings, more than 2/3, which means that the plot to impeach this man is really very, very strong. I feel at this point, if the president is not careful, the way Nyesom Wike is going to drag the president to the mud, because a lot of persons are angry at the moment, because a lot of persons like me, I'm really angry, because I'm just like, I don't really know. Sometimes I imagine what agreement was reached between the president and Wike that is making him so strong, so buoyant, so full of life, like nobody can touch him. Look, see, to me, I will tell you, Wike is the biggest name in Nigeria as it stands. If I don't know, if like Wike is even rivaling the president.
The APC is not like
no. It's like the APC. He told them, he made it clear that the APC should not dare him. And just after he said this, the impeachment plot is just like it was already planned, it was cooking already. So that statement was to pre-inform them that when it starts, nobody should even venture.
Yes, because what he's trying to say there, that even if Sim Fubara defects to your party, the APC,
yes,
we want to impeach him, we will impeach him.
So
everyone will not fall.
What kind of agreement was reached between the to me, I would suggest the president should sit down and think about the FCT minister.
Like if he's not been thinking before.
Yes, he should look at this matter very carefully, because if he's not careful, the way Nyesom Wike is dragging the federal government and the APC as a party along in this whole issue, it will result to a big problem with the party, with the president and the people of Rivers State. So the president has got a lot in his hand now. So what he should do, he should call Wike to order. A state where the governor and the assembly members cannot work together in harmony, there's going to be problem. Look at what happened in Edo State, which led to how many lawmakers? About 14 lawmakers.
In 2019.
You see?
Were denied representation by the then governor.
Good. Now, with what is going on in Rivers State, we don't know what is going to happen. It would be a shame if Fubara is impeached. It will be a shame to the APC as a party. I don't want to know what agreement was reached between Fubara and Wike. What I see here is, if there is any issue between the lawmakers and the governor, they should See, what is just happening there is because of the feud, the bad blood they have. Not really those, to me, all of those allegations to impeach him, or those allegations they are bringing forward to impeach him, it's not enough. It's not enough. That is not really the issue. We understand the issue.
If you check this whole feud now, where is Rivers people here?
No.
Are they considering the people of Rivers State?
The Rivers State people, and that's what I'm telling you, that even the Rivers State people, they fail to understand that now there's election is coming up in Kana 2 constituency and there are 2 constituencies. You see why this whole thing is blowing up. Now interest is already coming. Now the governor might be saying, I want my candidate, and this one is saying, so all of these things is what is bringing this tension. And the people of Rivers State, I don't know, I don't really understand. It seems the people of Rivers State, they've chosen to leave government in the hands of the
few led by Wike.
The few led by Wike. They don't want to rise up and demand accountability and demand good governance. So they are sitting back watching it like a movie. They are being entertained, because if you look, each time Wike goes on this I don't know what should I call it, campaign, I don't know what to call it again,
a rally.
Each time he goes on this, you see him dancing, the people are cheering him up. Then I will look at these people, I say, these people, they are not yet ready. If they are ready, they should call their principal to order and tell him, please sir, let peace reign,
allow our governor govern.
That is the only way they will see development. If not, they will continue dancing at rallies and be giving stipends
or 1,000 naira to
that appear. Maybe probably that is what they need at the moment. They don't want good governance, because if they want good governance, they should call their principal to order and beg him to let peace reign,
to stay back in Abuja. Allow Fubara do the work.
That's just it.
Louis, during the week, I will say this one is a good one. The federal government have moved to enforce what they call the standardized textbooks in schools.
Wow. In fact, I will say parents will be very glad to hear this, because first of all, it's going to reduce the financial burden on our parents. Because of a truth, I must be plain with you, Hamzat. You see, if you go to most schools now, what they do, some schools, they don't bank on school fees. Some schools, they bank on textbooks. You go to their library, they just bring textbooks, different textbooks, and they tell the parents it is compulsory. These textbooks are compulsory. And sometimes some of these textbooks are not even, they don't even fall under the syllabus of the Ministry of Education. But because the school, even because the parents, they are not informed as to the books that are required by the Ministry of Education. So they just buy these books. Even story books. You see some proprietors, they just go, they meet maybe a Rosa writer who has a poem, or who has a book. He's looking for where to launch it. Now maybe he has published the books and he's not having good sales. He will start moving from one school to the other. Then they do business as to how much is going to be given to the proprietor per book. So the proprietor makes it mandatory for the students to buy. And I remember way back those days, I used the textbooks of my cousins. I used the textbooks of my siblings. Go and see if your brothers have this textbook.
The one they used before.
The one they've used before. But now, most schools, they don't agree. They will tell you must buy. It's compulsory. So I believe this action by the federal government is really going to help families a lot, because a lot of private schools have capitalized on textbooks as a means to extort parents. And I just believe with this drive, or rather this move by the federal government, it really shows they are coming up with good reforms as regards to education, and they are trying to see how the burden of parents can be reduced. So it's a good one. It's a welcome development.
Yes, I said, Louis, what you just talking about, I was raising up this the headline now, and I said it's a good one, because when you were growing up, I think that is what I did all through the years, through my years in the secondary school. I never I don't think if I bought any new textbooks because my elder siblings and my nephews and nieces that are ahead of me in terms of schools, most of the textbooks they use, most of them I borrowed that fall in line with my syllable. But we don't know how these things change over
Yeah.
time. 6 years in secondary school, it's like you are going to buy textbooks 6 times. That is what the federal government have come to change now, which is a good one.
Yes.
So because you see parents, they go as far as even loaning money to buy these textbooks that they are still going to repeat the following year. Then there is another extra financial burden on the parents, and you see them grumbling, but they don't have choice than to provide this material for their kids. And I think, like I always say, is a good one. And the federal government is there should not be enforcement uh, via announcement. They want to see an enforcement whereby any school, any institution that go against this policy will be severely sanctioned.
Yes.
If it's a private school, their licenses should be withdrawn. Again, don't forget that school have resumed,
Yes.
and most of our parents that must have been contemplating how are we going to go about this exorbitant prices of textbooks. But with this information now, I think they will have a sigh of relief
Yeah.
because this policy have come to reduce their financial stress, so that you just go there, you buy your textbook once and for all. So if you are buying a textbook now while you are in any of the classes, you see that textbook will still be relevant in the next 4 to 6 years. I think this is a good one on the part of the federal government, so they should keep it up.
Yeah. And with that, we end today's edition of our news review. Until next week.